Welcome back to the Growth Minded Leadership Framework. This video is to explain what the spine menu does for you. So the spine is the vertebrae that allows you to stand tall and be confident about the leadership that you bring every day to work. There are 10 dimensions of the spine and 10 leadership vertebrae. The wording of the vertebrae you have an opportunity to change. And in fact, when you first have your profile and you come into the profile for the very first time, you're presented with the set up your spine screen. So, for example, if you're early in your career, you may not be comfortable saying, I'm a strategic thinker for these reasons. And you may prefer to have developing my strategic thinking as the label for this particular vertebrae. But as you move more into the exec-based roles, if you believe that you're setting the strategic direction, and that's a more ambitious target in terms of the attributes that you want to be aiming for, then you can shift the language and pick the ones that are, that resonate most with you. And that's the key. It's about you feeling comfortable that you can say out loud that you are a strategic thinker, or that you build strong working relationships, or that you develop you're self-aware and empathetic or emotionally intelligent, etc. So this is entirely up to you how you can set that up, and of course you can change that as you move through the years and as you start to develop and build confidence around the vertebrae. So if I click on this there, and because Sam's already started his coaching framework journey, I just want to point out some of the data that you're already seeing on the screen here. So you have, for each vertebrae, you have an evidence score which you can't change. And this is the evidence that comes from your stories. When you enter your story into the tool, you can choose to then tag that story to one or more vertebrae. And you do that by picking the habits that you believe you've demonstrated in that story as an example. But you don't have to manually pick those yourself. The AI tool can read your story and automatically identify the leadership vertebrae and the habits it believes you're already demonstrating. So you will see in here purple-based habits that have been identified, and purple means it's been identified by the AI tool. If there were green habits inside of here, then they're habits that would have been identified by Sam. And I don't think, oh yes, here we go. I have set some up, and you can see some green ones there. So use the spine to sort of assess holistically, top to bottom, your vertebrae. So you've got two types of score here on the right hand side. You've got the evidence score, and you've got your confidence score. So again, going back into strategic thinking, I can't change the evidence score, but I might think, or some might think, actually, I don't believe I'm developing. I think I'm still emerging as a strategic thinker, and I've got a rationale that may sit behind that. Well, these are really good examples then. If you're below the evidence, does that mean when you read back the stories behind the scoring, that you don't believe them, that the attributes of the habits have been allocated incorrectly? And it's something you should explore with your coach to identify why is it that you can't be confident that you've got more capability as a strategic thinker than you're actually willing to admit. If, for example, though, that you're higher than the evidence score because you believe you've got more examples, then it's likely that you're just missing some stories from the model, and you need to get them pulled through and entered into the tool. So you can see the difference then between the evidence and the confidence. Each vertebrae has its own description and an example set of 10 habits. What you may start to see in some of these is you might see that there are more than 10 habits that have been developed. I'm going to try and see if I can find any for you. I should have set one up beforehand. Apologies. But what that means is you can add additional habits through the habit builder, through the AI tool. So your work is never done. If you want to develop even further as a strategic thinker, as a strong communicator, and building deep and trusted relationships, you can do so. So this is all for you to, it's all observational except for setting your confidence levels rather than being able to change anything. So, you might go through some of these, for example, reading the habits of a high-performing team, look through some of those habits, and it might trigger a story that you remember in your career that you then go and add into the tool. And one story, if it's been triggered from a building high-performing teams, is likely to be tagged to that particular leadership vertebrae. But it may also identify other leadership qualities in emotional intelligence or building deep and trusted relationships, etc. So, I would use this particular part of the tool to inspire and remind you of stories that you may have. Hopefully that was clear. This particular page will change and adjust as you move through your stories and habits and these other exercises through the mirror, etc. as well. So this is your sort of record of your vertebrae strength, your leadership strength. And again, the visualization is you've got a strong base of which you stand. If you can stand up tall and center your vertebrae, centering it means you believe in what you say. You can say it out loud and give examples of the work you do in building deep and trusted relationships, or bringing creativity and innovation into the workplace, or being a subject matter expert, etc. And if you don't believe them, they're sort of out there in the ether. And when you go to say, I build deep and trusted relationships, you can just tell by the tone of your voice that you don't believe it yourself. So the vertebrae example is, if it's in the center, if it's strong, you're going to stand tall and address the person you're talking to in a very confident and clear manner. So that's the spine, and that's how you quickly navigate across it.